Morning, fellow Toastmasters.
Good morning, girl.
It's nice to get a shout out back. I appreciate that. Looking like everybody's gotten over mostly the summer here and we're rolling into the fall. It feels like that today over here in Western New York. It's a little chilly this morning. I actually busted out my jacket a little bit, light jacket. Probably still pretty warm down where Dave is, I'm sure. David, our speaker today, David Jones.
Yep.
So let's start off the meeting. Normally we start off with an inspiration. Does anybody have any words of inspiration for us today or a quote of any kind? Because our inspirator is Martin Johnson is not here. He said he usually comes, but okay, yeah, we can be inspired in a few minutes. We'll give him a few minutes. That's a great idea. So let's start off with the pledge of the flag. Everybody rise. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So today's theme is a fun theme. It kind of reminds me a little bit of summer, and we definitely have had a lot of fairs and festivals. I am a big fair and festival goer. I feel like I've been to so many over the years, and we're going to talk about all different ones for sure that I have gone to, and hopefully you've gone to. First one that I can think of offhand for fairs and festivals that it just jumps to my mind is a balloon festival. So I've been to a couple of those. We took the kids to one in Wellsville, and my daughter Caitlin doesn't remember it at all. Now, can you imagine seeing, I don't know, a couple hundred balloons flying around in the air and eating cotton candy and drinking lemonade and your parents spending tons of money to take you there to stay overnight? And I don't remember going. Just like, what do you mean you don't remember going? Killing me. That's not something you do every day. So I don't know. That was pretty fun. So I would recommend that. And that's not that far away in Wellsville for sure. Many fairs certainly I've gone to. I'd start off with the Celtic Fair, of course, because that is coming up and we have our table there certainly that we will promote Toastmasters, and I've been going through some of the details with our membership VP Jill today and making sure we're all set for some promotional materials. Can't get any from TI, just so you know. The website's down, and I reached out to Kate Olson, and she said the same thing. And she doesn't have any to give us. So luckily, I have some things, and Jill has some things, and we'll make it look nice. And hopefully, we'll get our free recruits. So that'll be fun. So we'll go there. But I remember from the Celtic Festival that watching all the athletes chucking logs and drinking beer. I remember that a lot. Having a good time, having some mead, and just walking around and seeing all the fun times and the vendors and stuff. So definitely recommend that you go there and join us. I know we have a lot of Toastmasters that volunteer. Tom will be in full garb, I believe, dressed up possibly, and directing traffic there. So people will probably video him. So he may be a viral sensation here on the web. We will see. So kind of exciting. We'll definitely talk more about fairs and festivals as we go along today. We'll always want to start off with our role players with the word master. Phil Russell is our word master today. Phil, do you have a word of the day for us? Round of applause, please. If he does not, I definitely do.
I just might have.
He might. Okay.
Awesome. Festivals. What comes to mind with a festival? A party. So how about a soiree? SOIREE, soiree. Now, I'm going to be keeping track of how many times you can bring up an idea of the party, which is a festival. For example, after the siesta, we have a fiesta. A little Spanish lingo thrown in there. Now, use any party word you want, but the word for today is soiree. soiree. And if you use a foreign word, let me know where it came from. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Phil. Let's get the soiree started. Need some music from Len in the background, maybe. It'd be good to have that as a cue. That'd be kind of fun to do that. You know, maybe we'll think about that in the future for a speech. Probably, yes. He's that crack of a whiz when it comes to the computer. Len, speaking of Len, did step up today to be our master. Len, can you tell us your job duties today?
Absolutely, Mr. Toastmaster. My job today is to count and make note of all the ahs, ums, so's, buts, pregnant pauses, filler words, things that distract from the effectiveness of our verbal communication. I will report at the end of the meeting. Mr. Toastmaster.
I'm going to go through all the roll holders, then I'll do some housekeeping after that. Tracy Farrell is our grammarian. Could you tell us your role today?
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. My job will be to listen to our English. I know today is going to be considered a party, but the more refined amongst us will refer to it as a soiree, and I will be listening to your more refined English. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Tracy. As an interesting aside, it was kind of cute to see Tracy up here on her tiptoes to go to the mic. So I apologize for your sore feet, me being so tall. And our next role player today is right here, ready to go. David Licata is our quote master.
I brought 2 quotes today. Sometimes a whole state as a soiree, and that was celebrated by Rodgers and Hammerstein when they wrote a musical called Our State Fair. So here's a quote. Our state fair is a great state fair. Don't miss it, don't even be late. There's dollars to donuts at our state fair. It's the best state fair in our state. Now, to bring it home locally, as I like to do with a little local history, in 1901 was the Pan American Exposition in Buffalo. And that certainly was kind of a forerunner of the World's Fair. So the quote is, "Have a nice day at the exposition, dear." And that was from First Lady Ida Saxton McKinley. Thank you.
Groan, groan, groan. That's awful.
Jackie was groaning in the back as well, so she's there with you, Kate. Our jester is going to tell us a funny joke today. Mike Florio, do you have? Oh, we're having a problem with connection.
Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, I don't think I see any guests, but I love a good soiree, but I've got to be careful. Yeah, last year I got food poisoning at the German festival. It was the worst.
Ooh.
Mm.
Oh, get us going there.
I went to the Scarecrow Music Festival, though. They were outstanding in their field. And every once in a while, I take the wife. We went to a blues festival. I liked it. She didn't. She said there was too much sax and violins. Mr. Toastmaster.
Yes, very good, very good. And Mike even fended off the tomatoes virtually. Very nice. Our next role player is our timer, Mike Licata. He's ready to go to talk about his job duties. Mike.
Good morning, fellow Toastmasters. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. And Yes, my job this morning is to time everything. Table topics is usually 1.5 to 2 minutes. Speeches are usually 5 to 7 minutes, and our evaluations are also 5 to 7 minutes. Mr.
I'm going to forego the tech and gesture master role today. We'll pass on that one. So, and our next role player is also ready to go here, Nancy Ferry. She's gonna tell us her job duties today as quizmaster.
Quizmaster, I will be listening, and I hope you will be listening to and watching. I want you to watch too, don't just listen. And I will be giving a quiz at the end of our soiree. Actually, soirees are usually in the evening, but sometimes at 7 in the morning, it feels like it's still evening. So be wide awake, and I will ask you some questions and see how well you're listening.
Thank you, Nancy. Before I introduce the general evaluator, which we don't want to forget because she is evaluating me, I'm going to do a little housekeeping because I don't want her to talk about that. So I do have a open slot if someone is motivated and ready to do a hip pocket speech as speaker 2. But if not, we will forego that, and we will have 5 table topics participants today. And we do have plenty of opportunities available and members that I think are available. So if I don't hear anything, we'll forego that. In other housekeeping here, I did want to mention that we have a few cards going around. We did have a few members, had some family members pass. So Mark, we give our condolences certainly. And Jen Zappa as well, had her father pass. And there's a few cards going around. And Carol is back, so we want to welcome Carol back because she is not feeling the best. So she is back and still doing well. So we love that. So I wanted to mention those things. And now for the general evaluator. Please tell us your job today, Sylvia.
Thank you. This morning, my job will be evaluating our Toastmaster, the soiree party we're having here today, and the general or evaluators too. Thank you.
Thank you, Sylvia. Other fairs and festivals that just came about, they just had the Elmwood Art Festival, but I prefer the Allentown Art Festival here locally. It is bigger. My wife used to sell her art there. I don't know if you guys know, but she is an artist. She had quite a portfolio of art at one point, and she got a table there and sold her art. And in the end, she just got tired of doing all that, and now she just gives it away to family members. We have a whole living room full of art from different family members, which is nice. Different people in the family. A few of them actually could be worth a few dollars. I don't know. I'd have to get them assessed. We had a relative up in Canada who had his own gallery up there, and I guess was known in Canada. So that's pretty cool. So I like to walk around and peruse the art, and the kids used to buy the cheap jewelry on the side on Allen Street. And we always have to get the lemonade. The lemonade is the key ingredient to a good festival, apparently. And I'm sure the lemonade vendor is at the Celtic Festival. I have no doubt. Maybe not. I'd rather have the mead, truthfully. A lot of festivals in Lewiston. Lewiston has a ton. They have their jazz festival, which is very popular. They are also a craft and art festival, I believe. They have blues that goes on there. I don't know if it's really a festival or a fair per se, but they do have some free blues. We do have tons of free music in our area, which is awesome. And in regards to local fairs, I tend to lean towards the Erie County Fair. Sorry, local luck portions. I know the Niagara County Fair is the thing here, but I tend to go to that one if I do go for a local fair, because it's bigger. And I still have not gone to the Smash Up Derby, which as a young man, I thought that'd be pretty cool to do. As an older man, I realized I'm too old for that. And I need to work. But I would still like to see other crazy people do it. So that would be fun to do. So one day my grandson and I will go do that. In regards to the meeting here, let's roll forward with table topics. Jill, are you ready?
I hope so.
Yes, I did. And we have a list of people that are online. I wrote here for you. So just like this here.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Mr. President Gerald. I think about your thoughts about the smash up derby. Probably part of your problem is the fact that now you're treating the people who actually went in the smash up derby and realized they regretted it. When I think of festivals and fairs, I tend to think instantly of all the ones with the rides, you know, the game vendors and the food vendors, and all that sort of thing. So my questions are tending to go in that direction. Thomas, what would have been in the past your favorite ride to go on, and tell us about it, why?
Start to slide. Thank you, my fellow Toastmasters. I don't see any guests online. If we do, welcome. My favorite ride. I think it was my love of showing off that made this my favorite ride. It has different names. Here at Fancy Island, it was called the Devil's Hole. Other place, it's the Spinning Barrel, or it goes by a bunch of different names. Basically, it's a big metal ring with a bunch of plywood just screwed to it for a fair or something like that. And it spins really, really fast and pins you to the wall. Devil's Hole was cool because the floor actually sunk away. They actually pulled the floor away and you could see the grass in the ground. And it was like a little bit scarier because the lights would go down and there'd be flashing lights and things. I would always like start spinning so that I was upside down and like waving at everybody, you know. Or we'd start trying to like crawl along like the edge, you know, we'd turn and roll on our stomachs and start crawling. Of course, the guy operating the ride is like, stop doing that. And it's like, well, no, you know what? I'm going to be doing it every other hour. And I'm going to be back every time. Oh, it's not green yet. Oh my goodness. The second favorite. Oh, there we go. Thank you. Samuel,
Thank you, Thomas, which kind of leads right into my second question, which I think I will give to Carol Ann if you were up to it. Because that would be an answer to my second question. Remember to use soiree. Ride you refused to get on and why? Because I definitely never wanted to get on that Devil's Hole thing. Carol Ann.
Let's see, I can't see the timer, so I don't. Well, so I will, let me time myself here. Okay. Start. Actually, I can say that I don't know of a ride that I really want to get on. However, I do like the Ferris wheel. We usually go on that when we go to any of the fairs. However, there's a double Ferris wheel at the Erie County Fair sometimes. I don't go on that. I have been on it, but I don't like that feeling of your stomach at the top as you're going down and everything just kind of drops. I don't like that. When I first met my husband, I realized he loved going to fairs, particularly the Erie County Fair. And I didn't want him to know that I really didn't like rides because he likes them. Well, I went on the Wild Mouse with him. And I had shorts on. And as we're going around, I was bracing myself so hard against it and hanging on so hard that when I got off, I had skinned both knees. So unfortunately for him, he had to go on most of the rides himself. But then we have 3 daughters who pretty much like the rides. So he has somebody, but that's not my thing. Miss Table Topics Master.
Thank you, Carol Ann. It's good to see you again. Which leads me into my next person. Nancy Rose, are you available? She is, because you're not evaluating anybody. Tell me, Nancy, fair food. There's always tons of it. Some fairs are centered around food. What kind of fair soiree have you ever felt that you overindulged and regretted it, maybe? Tell us about it.
You're muted, Nancy.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay. Sorry about that. Thank you, Table Topics Master. I definitely am a foodie. I love food. I love to cook food, and I love to go to festivals. And in these modern times, I like to go to food truck festivals. Do I have a favorite? Absolutely not. I like the greasy kind, the sweet kind, the barbecue kind, all of the above. I used to participate in lots of festivals in Lewiston. At one point, I had a popcorn shop. We had about 50 flavors, and that's part of my foodie in me. So every festival, it was the Jazz Fest, I would make blue kettle corn for the blues. If it was the Harvest Fest, I would make all different types of crimson red and green and yellow popcorn for kettle corn to represent the fall. And I had so many different types in the shop on a regular basis. My husband actually runs the peach tent for Kiwanis at the Peach Festival. He runs it because it's about a 63-year tradition that his father started. And he does that in honor of his father. He's been doing it for about 20 years. So I have lots of time to run around that festival and eat lots of food. So I have a good time, able to give back to the community, have some fun, sample things, wash a lot of tables, because now the peach tent is turned into a food tent, but I don't mind at all as long as people are having a great time. So thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. I don't think any of us knew that about you and popcorn. Nice little fact. Eric, are you available?
Eric is driving.
Eric is driving. Okay, then Margot.
I'm available. I'm available. I just pulled up.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Multitasking, Eric. All righty. Thank you. You tell us about your best fair or festival memory. I bet you have a bunch of them.
Well, man, Table Topics Master, fellow Toastmasters. I'm going to go back a long time ago. And this was at the Erie County Fair. And I don't know if my parents still have a picture of me, but I was holding a big python around my neck. And I wasn't even scared at all. I just hold that python like I hold pythons throughout my whole life. So I think I still like to know where in the world that picture went. But when I do find a picture, I'll show it to you. The other thing I enjoy is going to Darien Lake, watching the laser light show, going on rides. But the one ride I hate the most is the Superman ride of steel. I'm sorry, I hate it. Don't ever get me on it. If I have to go through the line, I'll just quickly jump into the ride and get off the ride and let everybody else join, because once you go up that ride, your stomach is going to go falling down when you reach the top of the hill of that roller coaster. And that was not my favorite ride. But I also remember there was a little soiree over at the picnic area at Darien Lake when my siblings did some baseball and softball, and we always had those little picnic gatherings, and we just had a blast. So some of them, I have more, but I'll make a speech out of it sometime soon. But that's all I have, ma'am. Table Topics Master.
Thank you, Eric. I don't know how many of us would enjoy having a python around our neck. I'm not getting many, oh, Steve, of course. Of course, there's a bug on the ceiling, Steve, kill it. No, I have to know what it is. What are you? Oh. Yeah. All right. I think my next contestant will be Margot. Margot. Knowing that in all likelihood, Margin Manor probably has had some boosts at some of these things. But maybe some of them you prefer to just go to. And I know your family is very involved in the Peach Festival. But let's get just a simple question. What fair or festival did you miss the most in the last few years of our forced isolation?
Thank you for this opportunity and to regale you with some stories of some soirees I have had at various fairs. And Nancy, you probably know my husband does provide all the peaches for the Peach Festival. But yesterday, Jim and I went to State Fair for the first time in probably 15 or 20 years, actually. We had gone there on our honeymoon, for those who know the story. And thank you, Mike, for coping with everything here, including a power outage. But we spent the afternoon yesterday talking to consumers at the New York Apple booth. We answered questions about how people grow apples in their backyard. Jim's recommendation, cut the tree 6 inches above the ground. That's how you would prune it. But we answered questions about how we grow things. We answered questions about varieties. And I guess you've lost your power because now I do not see anybody there. So I do not know what my timing is. However, the other questions we had were, why can't I find crispin apples in the grocery store? And we explained that part of the business. We talked to people from Rochester who happened to be best friends with my husband's cousin in North Tonawanda. Who knew? And we also ran into some old college buddies. I unfortunately did not set my timer up. There we are. So I'm going to rely on Mike to hopefully give me a hint on how long I'm going. But I have lots of stories. And if you want to read more about what we did at State Fair, read it in the paper because I've already written the article. That's what I do, folks. Madam Table Topics Master.
Thank you, Margot. How ironic that you went to the state fair yesterday. Can I have a timer's report, Mike?
Thank you, Madam Table Topics Master. All of our table topics contestants qualified on time. Thomas at 1:37, Carol Ann at 2:12, Nancy at 1:48, Eric at 1:44, and Margot at 1 minute and 40 seconds. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. And Phil is already up here to give us his report on the soiree participation.
Madam Topics Master, fellow Toastmasters, soiree did pretty good, but I don't know how good enough. Thomas, from my friend Dave Licata, said you did use it. Carol Ann, I'm not sure. Nancy
No.
Rose, I'm not sure. However, Eric and Margot did use it. However, you remember I give you a pass because if you use something that referred to a party, you're still qualified. And everybody seems to like these two words, fair and festival, and they work. So they all qualify. Madam Topics Master.
What a lovely gesture, yes. So I'll turn it back to our Toastmaster, Dr. Stevens.
Thank you, Jill. Some fun questions and some interesting stories. You never know what you're going to learn about your fellow Toastmasters. Marty has arrived and he wants to inspire us today. So Marty, can you come up and give us a few words of inspiration? Give him a round of applause.
Thank you, Mr. President, Mr. Toastmaster of the Day. Yes, I do have some words of encouragement, and they're actually related to fairs and festivals. And I put this together over the last couple of days. Hopefully it's a little coherent, congruent to what we're talking about. And this is it. May we continue to provide and promote opportunities for our youth, such as 4-H programs, in order for them to experience life skills that may lead to future career opportunities. And I remember that from my experience going to fairs, and I've seen people grow up through the 4-H program. And I know many of you can relate to that, I hope, and I just hope that we continue to promote and inspire our youth. Thank you, Gerald.
Thank you, Marty. I am definitely all about inspiring new young leaders. That's something I do for chiropractic. Actually, I'm mentoring the Arizona Chiropractic Association, believe it or not. So, it seems like I need something else to do, right? That's what my wife says. So another fair that I really like, and Margot mentioned it, the New York State Fair. Yes, I'd love to go to that. I did miss it for a while. I've gone a couple times. I love the giant butter sculpture. I love the giant sand sculptures they have on a regular basis. You never know what you're going to get with the different artistes. I like the classes they have. I went to a glass blowing class. That was cool. I know they have them in Cornell as well. But that was cool to watch that and make little animals, and the kids wanted to buy them, of course. And I remember a giant half of a watermelon they gave out didn't give out, but we paid for as a drink. Huge watermelon. My youngest daughter, and her friend shared. They were thrilled. And we actually camped not far from there. So you could do it cheap if you wanted to as well. Other festivals that I can think of offhand. Let's see. I would like to go to a festival you may not have heard of. It's called Memphis in May. So it's a music festival, blues festival. And apparently they have all kinds of bands. It is not obviously here, it's in Memphis. So I'd like to go down there, and apparently it's this huge thing. And my wife went and she talks about it from time to time very fondly. So I'm like, okay, so we got to go do it. We got to go do it. So there's things like that. So it doesn't have to be festivals you've gone to, festivals for the future. At this point in our program, I'd like to introduce our evaluator number one. That's Katie Orr. Do you have David Jones' information and tell us about his speech today?
Sure thing. Mr. Toastmaster, would you like me to introduce his speech also, or his title also? Or you will do that? You're still up at the lectern. Sounds like you might.
I do have the title.
Perfect. All right. I am honored to evaluate our Southern branch today. David Jones is our speaker number one. He is speaking. Thank you, David, from the Path Effective Coaching from Pathways. Excellent for modeling to the rest of us, jumping in on Pathways. He will be speaking with a level 3 elective, Connect with Storytelling. Mr. Timer, the time is 5 to 7 minutes. And the purpose of the speech today is for him to practice using a story within a speech or giving a speech that is a story. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Okay, David Jones's speech today is titled Fast Food Restaurant Job. Should be.
It is now titled Missed Opportunities.
Oh,
David
it is
Jones,
changed. Oh,
missed
thank you for the
opportunities.
update.
David Jones, Missed Opportunities.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, and good morning, fellow Toastmasters and any guests. By show of hands, how many of you have ever worked in the fast food restaurant industry? Now, when I was a teenager in high school, I started working at a restaurant, and I think many of us did it as our first job as teenagers or as maybe in college. But I remember it being my first job, and for me, it was Burger King. Burger King is where I worked in high school, and I worked there for a couple of years. But I remember my first day of work, it was the best day because you just got to go in, sit there, eat all the food and drink you wanted. And all you had to do was watch training videos on how to do your job. And as like a 17-year-old, I thought that was funny that I was sitting there learning how to do my job that I was not actually doing, but I was just watching how to do it. Now, I worked at Burger King in the mid to late 80s. And if you happen to have worked at Burger King during that time, you had to watch videos on training, but they were the VCRs. And anywhere in the country, if you happen to work at Burger King, you would have seen this guy. He would have been doing your training. He would show you how to make Whoppers, how to pour drinks, how to work the cash register. And yes, that is me. I was born and raised in Miami, Florida, and that's where Burger King corporate headquarters are. And I was discovered, and I became Mr. Burger King. Now, there were other people that would do training, but I did a majority of the training, and it was shown all over, even at Lockport, New York, if you happen to work at Burger King. And what was fun about it was they didn't have a studio, so they would go to different corporate restaurants at 2 a.m. after they closed and after they had been cleaned, and we would film these videos. Now, in this particular scene, I am taking buns out of a bun warmer and putting it on the counter to make a sandwich. Again, we're mostly training teenagers, so we had to do the basics. But in addition to all the videos that I did, I would do some local print ads, and another national campaign I had was a recruitment poster where it would say, join us, apply now. And it was me and 2 other people, and that was all across the country. And that got me thinking that if I could do this for Burger King, maybe I could do this for others. Maybe I could become a famous actor. And I decided that maybe I should get an agent because I could be the next Paul Newman. Now, Paul Newman and I were similar. I believe I had better hair. He was a bit of a greaser. But I did go out. I got myself an agent, and my agent started doing different composites and photo shoots and portfolios. And if you can read the small print, I believe I was 140 pounds with a 28-inch waist. Now, if I was at that point now, I'd probably be in the hospital for malnutrition. But I started going on different castings. My agent would send me out and I'd go to these castings and I would be like, all right, do you want to take my picture and pay me? How does this work? I didn't know anything about the industry. And they said, no, we need you to read a script. We need you to act. And I was like, I don't know what that means. You want me to be a tree or a building? And they're like, no, you got to role play. I didn't know anything about it. So my agent said, you need to go to acting classes. So I figured, why not? So I went to acting classes and it was no soiree. It was not fun for me. It was before I even knew the word Toastmasters. And the first thing the instructor said was, you have to get up on stage and you have to speak to everybody around you and you have to act crazy and do different exercises. And I said, no, thank you. That was not for me. Needless to say, that was a missed opportunity for me. I had the opportunity to get into acting, but I was too scared. And that got me thinking about missed opportunities. And why is it that we miss opportunities? I believe there's three main reasons. Number one, sometimes we don't have the vision to see an opportunity. Sometimes an opportunity comes disguised as a problem, and the opportunity is on the other side of the problem, which is the solution. Second reason is we don't have the skills or ability to work on that opportunity, meaning we might need to go back to school, we might need to get a certification, we might need to learn different skills on Excel, or maybe even take acting classes. And number three is that we don't have the confidence. We might see the opportunity, we might have the skills, but we don't believe that we can do it. We don't believe we're the right person for that job. Now, in order to never miss out on an opportunity, I have three suggestions for you. Number one, whenever you see an opportunity, always say yes. Say yes, but can I have time to look at it? Can I sleep on it? And you can then look at the opportunity, mull it over, and decide whether or not it's the right opportunity for you. But you won't have any more regrets in life. Many of us regret opportunities we passed on. We fester over them 10, 20, 30 years later. But if you've actually looked at the opportunity and said no, there's no more regret. Number two, determine whether the skills you need are worth the effort. And the answer, of course, would be yes, because a year from now, when you finish your certification, you're still going to be in the same spot you are, but now you're ready for that opportunity. I should have taken acting classes, should have stepped outside of my comfort zone, but I chose not to. And number three is always network. Networking, I think, is one of the most important parts of opportunity. We can see the opportunity, we can have the skills, but if we don't know the right people to help us along our journey, we're going to be stuck. And we need to be networking into the future, not just for now. Don't wait for that opportunity. I mean, that's what we do here at Toastmasters. We're networking with different types of people that down the road can help us. But before they can help us, we have to help them. We have to be of value to them. So again, let's not miss out on opportunities. Let's look and say yes to all opportunities. Let's determine what skills are needed, and let's always be networking with one another in order to help us through our journey in life. Mr. Toastmaster.
Our second speaker today to join our soiree is Jackie Kenny, but the evaluator is Steve Smith. Could you come up, Steve, and tell us about what she's going to talk about today?
Thank you. Yes, I will. She is doing motivational strategies, level 3 elective. Connect with storytelling. Now, our purpose today is to practice using a story within a speech or giving a speech that is a story. And her time is 5 to 7 minutes, Mr. Timer. And you have her title. Good.
Thank you, Steve. Please welcome Jackie up. Her title is today, Growing Up Lucky. Jackie Kenny.
Good morning, toasty people. You've all become a very big part of my life. But I know we all have influences over the course of our life that help to shape us into the people we become. I've pretty much become the person that I am at this point in time. But I think one of the biggest influences I had in my life was probably my mom. And I'm sure a lot of you could say the same thing. She left me her cookbook. Clearly, I need to find an archival librarian to help me out with this. It's been around for a long time. The copyright date is 1937, so I think she must have gotten it a year or two after she got married. And it saw its way through household moves and upheavals in our family. And she saw her way through many, many things in her life. She's the reason people think I'm a strong person. I don't compare to her. Her dad died when she was about 14. Her mom died a couple of years later, just as she graduated from high school. She was 16. Her older sister had gotten married a few months before. She had 3 younger brothers who now went to live with Aunt Mary. My mom got a job in the Westinghouse. She lived in the Pittsburgh area, and that was like Harrison's was here. She was really too young to be working in a factory office, but some family friend pulled strings, and there she was. That enabled her to send money to Aunt Mary to help support her little brothers, try and keep them on the straight and narrow. And eventually, she met my father. Not the best life choice, but you know, things happen. She weathered a very troubled marriage with him. Back and forth, up and down. I didn't know any of that because she never let us know when things weren't good. She carried on. It always seemed like we had a nice, comfortable life until my father left the last time, which was after she had had cancer when I was about 9 years old. She survived that somehow, although she was ill for a very long time. She was in Our Lady of Victory Hospital for over a month. They smuggled my little brother and I in to see her because, of course, kids didn't go to hospitals in those days. But they smuggled us in, and the nurses all turned a blind eye so that we could spend a little time with her because she was completely bedridden during this period. She came home, she kept on trucking, found ways to live with the things that happened to her, and never showed any bitterness or bad feeling about anything that went on in her life. She went on to bury 2 of her children. And I think that's why she finally gave up when I developed breast cancer. I think she couldn't deal with the thought of another child possibly dying. So she packed it in at 87, and that was her final soiree. She always enjoyed the company of her friends and partied with them heavily through her life, always showing people the bright side of things, strength and good humor. She was a funny little lady. Any of you who knew her, and I know at least Phil met her over the years. She loved going down to his sister's cottage and watching the fireworks. She loved when we had our old home week celebration and she got to see everybody in costume on our float. It was a good life. And there are lots of recipes in here that we could share. For instance, taffy. Have any of you ever made taffy? It's amazing. You cook all this stuff up and then you stretch and fold and stretch and fold, as my mother would say, till it's as white as Gran's hair, because that's how her mother made it. She came to Girl Scout camp at, oh, maybe 82, stayed in a cabin with the girls, helped them make taffy and fudge and all kinds of things. There is always a place in life for humor and strength, and always a time to look on the bright side of life. So as you're working your way through your life, I hope that you're able to do that. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Jackie. Nice reminiscence for sure. Other fairs and festivals I'd love to attend. I guess I should wait on that until we get a timers report so we can vote. Michael is ready to go. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Good morning again, fellow Toastmasters. David qualified at 6:54 and Jackie qualified at 6:25. So both speakers are eligible this morning. Thank you.
Take a second to vote via online or here via ballot. I would love to attend the World's Fair. My wife attended the World's Fair. Jackie, did you attend the World Fair as well? What? Jackie Kenny, along with my wife, apparently attended the same fair. Wow, that's pretty cool. Dave really wants to be called out. So Dave, you have a,
There as well.
and Dave Licata was there as well.
Myself and my two little brothers, it was so powerful, because it was the mid-60s, and today the kids get to run around free in fun clothing. We were in suits, ties, and top coats. We looked like we were the plainclothesmen of the Lockport Police Department.
So Dave communicated that they were all dressed up and they looked like the undercover police from the Lockport wing in New York City. So that's pretty cool. But they don't really have it in America anymore, it seems. All the years and years in the future, they have it charted out there in far off lands, some of which I don't really want to visit, I hate to say. So it may be they don't make any money anymore. I don't know. I suspect it's probably a pretty big deal to put on and cost money. As bad as the Olympics. Interesting. Apparently it's so expensive it's like the Olympics. So that's very depressing for me. Thanks, Dave. Maybe I will find a town that puts it on that I do want to go to abroad. So I still would love to do that. At this point, I'd love to hear the evaluations. Katie, are you ready?
Yes, I am ready. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Can everyone hear me okay? Is the audio all right?
Yes.
Wonderful. Thank you, David Jones. This was great. I don't know if I've been your evaluator yet. I'm not sure if I have been. I do not think so. I was honored. I almost took the timer position today when I saw that it was open. And then I said, oh no, I'm David's evaluator. I'm not changing anything. My goodness. Thank you for sharing another part of you in this storytelling speech. At first, I couldn't tell if you were joking, and then definitely that photo was you. It was you. There was no questioning. I love how you embraced it. I loved how you pulled the tech in and you pulled us in. You drew us in from the get-go. Things that you excel at include your use of technology, how you share and connect with us. using this tool. Many tools. It looks like with the studio you have set up, you can do quite a lot to approach your speeches and storytelling. Your preparation and your execution was so thorough. You have maybe presented something like this to others, but we, to my memory, have never seen this part of you or heard about these stories about your past. You hooked us in with a universal question about jobs when we were teenagers or just in general fast food. We've all seen the logos or been to the restaurants and beyond. It was a great hook to get us started. I love how visually you were also pictured most of the time when you were sharing a screen. You might beat yourself up over evolving and using technology because there are pros who do it better. Well, you're well on the path and you are an inspiration to all of us in so many ways. You could work on, I really only could think of two things. Maybe slow down. I clearly have the same issue and I love your enthusiasm. And I think it's about channeling your amazing energy and pausing a bit more frequently or speeding up when there are certain things you really want to be enthusiastic about. I thought it was fabulous. The second thing, overall, I thought it was fabulous though, because it really keeps us engaged. The second thing was you started with a fabulous hook and question and video, and to strengthen your finish, maybe do that again at the close. I have to admit, I didn't stay watching and making good eye contact with you. I was furiously taking notes. So I possibly missed something that would have helped bookend your speech as a stronger close because it would parallel it for us in a simple way, especially at 7, 8 in the morning, when it's good to have a very clear and strong start and finish that way. To challenge yourself and us. You mentioned recently about working with improv, and then you talked today about your acting background and interest. Maybe create a series, short-term or long-term, within a Toastmasters project in Zoom in some way, like an improvisation, skill building, table topics level up. That's something to think about. Thank you so much, David Jones. It was a pleasure. And back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Kate. Our second evaluator today is Steve Smith. Are you ready, Steve? He's coming up.
Where do I start? We have a very accomplished Toastmaster in Jackie. I love the way she came up here, got everybody's attention right off the bat. Good morning, Toasty people. That got us all to pay attention. That's the point. Now, her job today was to tell us the story, make it part of her speech. She did that. She told us the story of her mother, who she referred to as her biggest influence. As she mentioned, and I believe she's right, most of us do think our parents are one of our bigger influences in our life. And she held up this wonderful old 1937 cookbook as a prop to set the stage. And she excelled at telling us. You could feel the emotion in her voice as she talked. You could feel the sincerity. She told us about her mother, how she was never really allowed, because her mother didn't want her to fully understand all the problems that her mother went through. Her mother always talked about showing the bright side of things. So even though it was a sad story, it was an encouraging story. It made you feel good. Now, she talked about the cookbook a little bit. Now, that was one spot, I think, for improvement. You used this book up here as a prop. Maybe you should have used it a little bit more, talked about some other recipes, but I do like the way that you drew us all in again. Has anyone ever made taffy? That's great. That made that whole prop front and center. A little more of that I would have liked. Maybe if you had a picture of your mother or other pictures of your childhood to help really paint the picture. Although you excelled at painting verbal pictures with the speech, we could see what you were talking about. We could see what you were going through. But basically, how do you find much to improve on an experienced Toastmaster like that? And I'm not doing a soft soap here. But I enjoyed the speech thoroughly, as I believe everybody did, because when I'm evaluating, I'm not only listening to the speaker, I like to listen to the way the crowd responds. And the crowd was responding. You did a very excellent job, and I thank you for bringing it to us today, Mr. Toastmaster.
Two fine evaluations today. It's going to be tough for the voting. Mr. Timer, can you give us the timer's report on that to help with the voters?
Thank you again, Mr. Toastmaster. Kate came in with the buffer at 327 and Steve came in at 220. So both of our evaluators qualified. Thank you.
More festivals. Have you ever heard of a tomato festival? Sometimes they have these tomato festivals and they have this huge tomato fight, which might be fun. Not rotten tomatoes. I think actual legit tomatoes. It is very wasteful though. A lot of these tomatoes could be eaten, but it looks like so much fun. They have hundreds of people having a giant tomato fight in the town, and the whole square is painted red. I thought it'd be amazing fun, but I probably would feel a little guilty because of wasted food, but it still would be fun. There's a very famous festival, the Running of the Bulls. Has anybody ever thought about doing Running of the Bulls?
Only you.
Dave Licata said only me. I might need some severe chiropractic treatment after that, I'm gonna say, especially if I get cornered by a bull, yes. Back in the day, I did consider that. Me and my wild friend from California, Damon, we definitely talked about that. I was much faster than him, so I thought for sure that I would get away from the bull and he'd be the, you know, the slow guy, right? He's the one that would get him, but he always thought that he could outrun the Spanish folks. And I have no idea why he thinks this, because they're lean and mean and probably not a lot of overweight people doing this, I'm gonna say. But in the end, I think the bull, I don't know if you know this, but they run through the streets, avoid the bull, then you run into the actual arena, and the bull gets in there. And if you have extra machismo, you stay in there while the bull is there, and then you jump over the wall before it gets you. So there are people that even go the extra length to try to impress the ladies. But I would like to think the ladies be more impressed with you not doing it because you have some sort of intelligence. So that would be something that would be fun to watch at this point in my life, maybe. I'd love to go to Spain anyway. Since we have gone through the evaluators and the speakers, I think we'll start doing some roles here. And I will give you a little heads up here for those folks that didn't speak yet. You probably may have an opportunity closer to the end, since it is 8:04, we're a little ahead of schedule, to talk about the theme. So you probably will be called on, because everybody likes to participate, I think.
I did do that too.
Okay, well, we have a couple people that filled in for the tech and gesture reports. So you two have to fight over it, you and Phil. So okay, so
No, I did that. We could do tag team.
they're both going to do the report. Wow, we are an amazing club. We have two people that stepped up for the vacant role, which I decided not to fill, but they did it anyway. How amazing is that? Our first role holder I'd like to hear from today would be the grammarian, Tracy. Are you ready for your report?
Thank you. So we had some positives. We had Marty using the word congruent. We had Jackie starting off her speech with us toasty people. And we had Dr. Stevens saying the Spanish folks are lean and mean. However, there were some negatives. We used the word soiree, party. Soiree is a noun, not an adjective. And Dave used as bad as the Olympics. Probably should have been as difficult as the Olympics. He was sitting down, so it doesn't count. The only thing is Dr. Stevens repeated that phrase after. We also have to watch our filler words. I've noticed we used and a lot. That was 41 times. And that is not when they used it correctly. It was only used as a filler word. And we also used so. That was 17 times. So please, as we're listening, listen to the word and. We're using it too much. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Tracy. Let's test our listening skills with our quizmaster, Nancy. I'm sure she has a few bits of fun for us today that will test our listening skills. We'll see if I get one of them this time, as I'm working on that.
Hello, Toastmasters. Let's see how well you were listening. Two people would put a python around their neck. Who are they?
Steve is one.
Eric and Steve.
Which two couples are involved in the Peach Festival? And Nancy Rose. What is your husband's name, Nancy? I didn't hear whether you said that. Still there?
Gary Rose.
Gary?
Yes.
Great. Okay, thanks. Who was multitasking?
Eric.
Yeah, but he did pull over. Thank you, Eric. And Eric's favorite hate ride.
Superman.
Yeah, Superman. I think he said Ride of Steel. What's Carol Ann's favorite ride? But she will go on the Ferris wheel. I don't, she did go on the Wild Mouse with her husband, but didn't like it. What did she do? She got hurt and skinned her knees, right? Gerald Stevens said the key ingredient to a festival is good
Beer, lemonade.
lemonade. It might be beer, but he said lemonade. And he said he might be a little bit too old for a thing that he had thought about doing a while back. Smash Up Derby, right? Wants to go to where in the future, Gerald?
Like the World Fair,
World Fair, also,
the running of the bull.
Pamplona.
and Memphis in May.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of goals there. What was the title of David's speech? Missed opportunities. What was the title of his speech before it got changed?
Fast food restaurant.
Yep. And Jackie Kenny's mom's cookbook was printed in what year?
30-something.
Good job.
You guys are up and are amazing listeners today. That's awesome. Our next role holder that I'd like to call on would be the general evaluator, if she is ready. Sylvia Baptiste. I'm jumping around.
Jumping around today. I like it. Well, as general evaluator, my job again is to evaluate our Toastmaster. Gerald Stevens arrived early, had agendas for us, which we love. Us paper people. Meetings start on time. You had great eye contact with the camera for Zoom million people and us. I've seen you looking all around, which was great. You stayed at this lectern even when people on Zoom was speaking, so you didn't have a blank screen, which was a great idea. I think I'll steal that one. I like it. And there's my Ann, Tracy. It was great because, like I said, you didn't see the
blank screen. And also you kept track of time, how much time we had for our meeting. Kate, as evaluator, you're always enthusiastic in the morning. I don't know if you have too much coffee before we start or what. I love it. Great eye contact. Your evaluation was a sandwich approach, good suggestions or challenge you gave for David. Always smiling, happy. Like I said, the coffee must kick in. You did a little bit of gestures, not many, but you were sitting down. Steve Smith's evaluation of Jackie, good suggestions. You also used the sandwich approach. And it was, to my personal feeling, it was a good evaluation, great evaluation actually, because it's hard to evaluate someone who has experience and they're talking from the heart. That is really hard. That's my evaluation.
Thank you, Sylvia. And our volunteers for the tech and gesture role, we're going to start off with, I think Dave is going to do the gesture part of it. Yes.
Okay,
Or are you going to do it all?
that we take.
Tag team. Okay, maybe Phil and Dave can both come up then, and they can split the role and whatever they observed. We'll see if there's a repeat or not.
In memory of the great tag team, the Gallagher brothers, the wrestling tag team, who did appear at the sales at a fundraiser, and as they went to the locker room, looked over their shoulder back at the Right Reverend Father Wild Bill Kenny, said, "Hey, Father, they're rooting for the Presbyterians." I thought that was funny. And now, my brother Toastmaster, the man who's responsible for bringing me in to this august group, Phil Russell. Thanks, Dave. I have some low tech and high tech problems. Low tech is we have a problem. We need to get a little stool so that our good friend Tracy doesn't have to stand on her toes. And she could, it would help because that's a lot of work. That's a lot of work. Bill, she was kind enough to step up, so we need to get her a step up. Yeah. Now, getting to the high tech, what a fantastic job Lenny does. Oh, yeah. However, we need a backup in case something, he can't make it. Michael, time to step up. You're a techie. Us older guys are not so techie savvy. But may I, Soiree, talk about it real quick? I had to take the pledge once. I was out with my bestest friend, Kevin. The first time, the first one I'll talk about was when Kevin came into the local gin mill after the soiree in Alcott called the Celtic Festival, and he was looking for his Kilty boys with his jacket on inside out. I think it was upside down too. But the worst time we were soireeing together, it was 6 o'clock in the morning, coming home from our bestest place to party, Alshot, New York, after a morning at the Clam Bar, and coming up over the hill where the new Celtic Festival is at the fairgrounds, we looked over and saw some elephants. They were not pink, but we certainly took the pledge. Your turn, Davey. All right. Once I decided to take on this task, the first person that came forward was Nancy Ferry. And I want to salute her on the fact that she has excellent hand gestures. And she does have a nice way. She finds the appropriate hand gesture for the word she's using. And we saw that last week when she said hooked. And she did it again today. Phil. All right, now, Kate Banks, or good job. I like the way you fill the screen and you were able to see some of your gestures. Steve,
masterful gestures as a evaluator. Dave? Let me jump over to Steve and Kate while we're on it. Kate, did you go Dorothy Hamill with the hair? I didn't see the ponytail. I'll miss it. But was it there? Oh, there we go. Oh, she's turned it loose. Oh, giving Jill a run for the money with the Rita Hayworth thing. Okay. But you were a little bit distracting when you were going back and forth between your notes and the camera when you introduced him, but that's a tough task, but you made up for it during the actual evaluation. And Steve does use the full professor mode up here, and I do that as well. And Steve and I are going to work on getting the microphone in our hand, and we're going to get out front, maybe someday, who knows? Okay, thanks, Dave. Now, David, the other David. Whoa, we need a seminar on your tech. What a great job you do with your studio. We need to know how you're doing it. What a great job for a speech. Unbelievable. Now, Jackie, the one thing I missed, you could have done, you needed to go upstairs at the top of the temple. And when Jackie was having a frustrating time making bread, boy, that bread got a beating. Boom, boom. And she says, you have to pound the bread. David, getting back to David Jones. He is our go-to talent for how to Zoom. There's no doubt about it. I can't get over the fact, the preparation that he's done in his home studio, and it's going to launch him. And we're going to say someday, we knew him when. But unfortunately, because that's the way fate worked out. Had he known me when he got it started, I would have given him the acting classes, honest to God, till I would have. Our dear friend Jackie gestures, reeled us in. She has gestures that convey her sincerity, and her sincerity comes by the carload. And someday I'm going to give a speech about all the inspiration and how to comport myself, how to conduct myself, how to get through crises that I've learned here at Toastmasters, because it's just great to listen to people's stories. Now, I'm going to finish up with that soiree. It was a good word. We used it. It was fun, but more importantly, because of the whole meeting being fun, the favorite word, I think, was festival, fair, then celebrate. And I did like the international flavor when Mike Florio brought in the German festival. And then, of course, Dr. Gerald with the running of the bulls in Spain. Well, it could have been worse. But yeah, the worst. And that's the last word. Thank you so much.
Thank you both. Thank you both for stepping up, even though you weren't asked, and it was appreciated. We do have one more roll holder, I believe, if I didn't miss any. The master. Save the best for last. Len.
I don't know about the best. Tracy stole my thunder a little bit, diligently counting 41 ums and 71 so's. You had more coffee in you than I did this morning because I didn't count nearly so many. I did count the ums. Sylvia had 2. Gerald, by virtue of being up here the whole meeting, had a few more. Yeah, I counted 4. Eric 1, David 2. Steve had 1 and a but, which was a filler word. I'm sure there were more, just something we need to work on constantly because it does distract. And I will also hand over the winners to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
All right, thank you. We have all the reports. However, there might be a few more folks that wants to talk about festivals. See, we have a few minutes. Beth, would you like to talk about a festival that you may be experiencing or possibly be in charge of at this point?
Well, I could talk about this year's festival and all the things going on and the 5 stages and all that. But I want to take you back to when we really started this craziness. We went with friends to Lake Huron to a little town called Kincardine. And they were having a little Scottish festival there. We got to hear about the legend of Kincardine's piper, all that. It was very interesting. They really focused there on using the fact that they're on a lake and they could bring people into there. There was a legend of a piper who supposedly piped in a ship so the ship did not sink. And so every Saturday during the summer, there is a lone piper out on the end of the deck that pipes the boats in. They also have a little parade every weekend, and the pipe band goes down Main Street. Everybody joins in after the pipe band is gone, and it gets to the end and it turns around. Everybody turns around with it and comes back. We thought, why can't Alcott have something like that? Use the fact that they're on Lake Ontario, do something like that. Within 2 weeks, we went down to Connie's restaurant in Alcott, and we ran into these men in kilts in Alcott. We had never seen men in kilts in Alcott, but it was Paul Crest and a few of his Highland athletes. And we got together. Okay, maybe we can use this also. We've always wanted to promote Alcott more than it was. So we could do this. Yeah. We learned the first few years, it's not very easy running a festival. How we kept going, I'm not sure. There were times when my husband just ramrodded his way through and decided to do it. And there were times when I said, no, we're going to keep doing this. It's okay. Then a lot of circumstances came into play. And yes, we moved up to the fairgrounds. It's bigger. It's totally fenced in, safer, and it has buildings and restrooms. So that's how we ended up there. If you haven't come, I would invite you to come. It's a lot of fun. Even David, anytime you want to come up in September, we'll put you up. How's that?
Thank you, Beth. The rest of you have escaped. I'm going to announce the award holders today in regards to our best evaluator. Katie, you are our best evaluator today. Our best table topics, Carol Ann, both online today. Round of applause for Carol. Good job. And our best speaker is Jackie Kenny. We do have a ribbon if you desire. I know you have a collection. So she looks like she's coming up to get, oh, she's gonna come pick up the winner of our split club.
Last 3 digits, 486.
I knew it. I was due.
Dave Licata is our winner. Very nice. Split club. In regards to the next meeting, our Toastmaster is actually Jen Zappa. We'll have to check on that for her doing that. See if she's up for that. Carol is one of our speakers. So if you are up for that, fine. If not, let me know because I actually have a speech ready to go. Les Robinson is a speaker and Mike Hayes is a speaker. We'll have to check with him. Marty, could you do that? Check with him?
I did talk to Mike and making the next meeting, and I'm going to get with him between now and then. We'll confirm, get things rolling for
icebreaker. Awesome. Yeah, Marty's gonna help him with the icebreaker. But just in case, our alternate speaker, Steve Smith, is you are the alternate speaker for next meeting. So if there is a vacancy, that would be great. We might have an announcement or two. Any announcements out there? Katie, do you want to talk about the harvest picnic possibly?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. President. We're 1 month and 1 day away from our fall picnic. October 2nd is at Margin Manor. I am not sure if the time, I think, was settled on 1 to 4.
1 to 4, yes.
1 to 4. We're going to try for a photo right in the middle there at about 2 or 2:30. So it's great. I know some people come late or leave early. So we'll do a big, nice group photo, bring a dish to pass, and you can purchase beverages there. Remember, don't bring outside alcohol because of the liquor license there, but you can buy drinks there. Margot's got New York beers and wines, of course, and cider, and we'll figure out something else. If you would like to assist with any of that setup and tear down, please let me know. I'll be heading that off. Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay, any other announcements? I know due to brevity, Tracy has one. Come on up, Tracy. Just a quick one.
Oh, also dues are due. Dues are due.
Just a real quick announcement. New Beginnings is going to be holding a fundraiser on September 10th. They're a local 401c3 that is helping to eradicate chemical dependency in our community. They sponsor the young women and men of character. They have a Friday night program. All of the all of the service clubs in Lockport will also be there at that walkathon that they're raising money. If you would like to walk, or if you would like to come to that fair, please come. It's for a very good cause. Thank you. September 10th, 10 to 2.
Thank you. And as Katie said, dues are due, so the invoices went out, Sylvia, and I was gonna call Beth back up, but we only have 2 minutes, so. Dues are due, please send the check in, and I saw a few were collected today here. That is all I have for the meeting. Anybody else? All right, look forward to the next one. You guys have a great.